Everybody, welcome back into Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here, and what a year it's been for everybody, right? It's been a crazy year, but it's been a spectacularly crazy year down in Fourchon, and we're joined by Chett Chiasson, of course, the executive director of the Greater Lafourche Port Commission. And hey, thanks for being with us, Chett. And we were talking. It's been a crazy year. Actually, tomorrow, April the 13th, is actually the 1-year anniversary of the Seacor Power incident that happened in the Gulf, and what a time that was with all the recovery and you know the weather and the folks that of course were harmed. And then of course August 29th happens, and then you guys take a direct hit with a Cat 4 or 5. It might have been a 6 by the time it hit you guys, but it's been an incredible year. So first of all, how are you doing, and how are things going at the port?
Thanks for having me, Harry. Look, things are going okay. Things are moving along, getting repaired, both from a port commission, port authority standpoint, as well as our customers, our tenant base down in the port, getting things back up and running. Just like you see down in Lafourche and Terrebonne parishes, there's damage, there's people working on things, and there's some that's lingering and taking a little bit to get there, but everybody's working on something and working to get to back to full utilization and full operation here in the port.
Yeah, you guys were up and running actually very quick, and a lot of people were surprised how fast you did that. And you're right. Like if you drive up and down the bayous, some parts of Houma, you go, was that yesterday that happened? Because some things looked untouched, and some things looked completely back to the way they were before the storm. I imagine it's similar to that at the port.
It is. Things don't always look great in some areas, but they look really good compared to what we saw back just after August 29th. And business is doing better, and operations are moving along. And we still have a lot of work to do, but that work is going to be an ongoing process, and we're going to get there.
Yeah, can you talk specifically? Did you lose customers, or were there people that were unable to come back? Talk a little bit more about business and what is taking place at the port today.
Sure, I'm proud to tell you that we have a really strong tenant base, and we have maybe 1 or 2 leases that are no longer leases in the port today since the storm. But those are not waterfront sites. They're not the larger leases. There's some small non-waterfront facilities, and it's unfortunate to lose some of our customers, but at the same time, for having such a major impact to Port Fourchon, to have that little impact on our tenant base, we're very fortunate, and we're very happy to have such a strong base here in the port.
Yeah, no doubt, Chett. Let's talk a little bit. Tomorrow is the anniversary of this Seacor Power incident. As it flipped over, it was a jack-up barge that flipped over in unexpected weather, and it really kind of took hold to your community for a while. There were so many people down there in the rescues and all that. They're going to have a memorial. So can you talk a little bit about what's going to happen tomorrow down at the port?
Yeah, so obviously, unfortunate situation a year ago tomorrow with the Seacor Power incident, and we still pray for the families of all those that were impacted by this, the tragedy that took place that day. But tomorrow, in Port Fourchon, at the Lady of the Gulf Seamen's Memorial statue, on our property there in the port, next to our operations center and our emergency operations center, there is an event being held by the Lady of the Gulf group with the families or some of the families of the Seacor Power folks, and they are they have their names on the side of that statue, and they're having an event tomorrow to memorialize what happened last year, and really put forth memorializing that event honoring those people that lost their lives in that event, and hopefully giving maybe some closure to those families. I know for the Macondo incident and the BP incident that took place, there's several of those names that are on that Siemens Memorial as well. And, you know, that's something that those folks said is once they saw the names on the base of that statue, it kind of gave them some closure. So I think the hope is with this, with all of the folks ever lost at sea, that this memorial really provides some closure and some form of relief for those families.
Yeah, no doubt, and at least you know they're not forgotten. That they are. There is a a memorial for them, but it is part of being a mariner, right? It's unexpected, and to have something like that. We were actually on the air last year at Tuesday following a big storm that came through, and not expecting it would ever be that tragic there. So for sure. Hey, we got 30 seconds left in this segment, Chett. Any changes to protocols as far as safety or that down at the port?
Sure. I think when it comes to weather, that unfortunate incident took place last year, kind of, and the storms and everything that we've been dealing with over the last year really brings it to the front of mind, and people are aware. And although they've always been aware of weather and concern, I think it just highlights the need. And that's what takes place here
to
now.
be more careful, for sure. Let's turn the conversation a little bit to oil and gas and what you guys are doing down there. Obviously, a turbulent time. Again, a year ago, we were talking about $0 for a gallon of gas or a barrel of oil. Now we're talking, over $100. It's now probably in the 90s right now, but it's been a fluctuating commodity for sure. So what's that done to the port and everything y'all doing down there?
Yeah, so there's steady work right now. There's not a considerable amount of work, but there's steady work, and our businesses, our tenant base, are continuing to provide the services for just about all of the Gulf of Mexico, and certainly for 100% of the deep water activity in the U.S. Gulf of Mexico from an exploration and production side. Not a huge amount of rigs drilling in the Gulf today, still somewhere around 14 rigs drilling new wells, with about maybe 28 of that, including those 14, 28, including those 14. Doing some sort of work in the Gulf of Mexico. So it's, again, in the grand scheme of things, that's not a huge amount. Back when we were blowing and going in the 2013, 2014 timeline, we were looking in the 50s in those number of rigs. But at least we can say that we have the lion's share of the activity utilizing Port Fourchon to service what's going on in the Gulf of Mexico. We're hoping to see some more activity in the near future. We believe that we should see maybe a handful more of rigs drilling new wells here in the coming months, but that remains to be seen as we move forward. Obviously, there's not the administration is not very supportive of oil and gas. But we are, and we're trying to relay that message to anyone that'll listen, that we really need to have a balanced approach to our energy in the country. And I think oil and gas plays a key role in that, because as we were talking before, only 30% of the petroleum products utilized in this country are for fuel or some fuel source. 70% is used for all the other things that we enjoy in our lives. So petroleum products are in reality not going away. So we need to understand that, and we need to play a role, and we want to play a role in what that energy transition looks like.
Right. Well, anything that's plastic or pharmaceuticals use a lot of petroleum products. Yeah, it is funny. Somebody's on an iPhone, which is plastics or a pharmaceutical. A petroleum product in their hand, tweeting about how bad oil and gas is. So yeah, there's some irony to that as well. So with Vladimir Putin, what's going on in Russia, does that affect you guys at all? And again, I guess I would start with our president and opening the leases up, which he acts like the leases are up, but maybe getting some of those regulations out of the way so the companies can go back to work.
So yes, it does have an impact on the global market. I mean, we're living in a global market when it comes to petroleum or oil and gas, mainly oil. And when we were importing, 700,000 barrels a day from Russia prior to everything going on with them in the Ukraine, them invading Ukraine, and we just immediately stopped that. So we had to find oil from other places. And unfortunately, instead of saying, hey, let's focus on the United States capability because we have the lowest carbon emission barrel of oil in the United States is in the Gulf of Mexico, and second lowest in the world, second only to Saudi Arabia. We're, instead of getting our oil from ourselves, we're now removing a ban from importing Venezuelan oil and going back to Venezuela, which happens to be the highest carbon emitting barrel per oil in the world. So it seems like if we're trying to meet the demand that we have for energy and enhance our environment, our ability for our environment to protect itself, we should be looking inward and controlling our own destiny. And unfortunately, we're not doing that. And one of the major issues here is, yes, the price of a barrel of oil was reduced because of the announcement of 180 million barrels of oil over the next 180 days coming out of our strategic petroleum reserve. Unfortunately, to my knowledge, we don't have a plan to replenish that. So the future is not very bright when it comes to that case and us being able to protect ourselves from this volatile move of the price of a barrel.
Right. A minute to go here, Chett. We were talking about wind. So the wind fields and a lease may be coming up, a lease sale for wind fields may be there. And even combined with the wind, maybe a hydrogen component with those wind fields.
Right. So obviously we're in the beginning stages of all of this, but we're kind of putting ourselves in our first step forward in being that base of services for offshore wind, which could have some hydrogen components as well. There's state laws being passed right now, and Representative Zarang has a bill in there to open up offshore wind for the state waters. BOEM, Department of Interior, is working on their plan for lease sales in the Gulf of Mexico federal waters. So there's a lot going on right now. We're putting, our best foot forward to be that place, just like we are for the oil and gas industry, that place to service anything offshore energy, and offshore wind and potential hydrogen are in that forefront right now.
All right, Chett Chiasson, thank you so much. It looks like innovation is going to be our way out. We appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back with more Bayou Time right after this.